this is going to happen, you know? So it's wild, man. But what it shows is while they're claiming that they have faith, it actually shows the lack of faith that they have, because they constantly want to find some natural way to explain a spiritual event.
And they also Just Behind series author to ask them questions, and they continually on there like, what do they know? Just Behind series.
Hey, bro.
You know,
Hey, bro.
you know?
But you know what? That's why it says in this book, these things were not left to the wise men of the earth. See, he've chosen babes to reveal this great knowledge unto. So this is what causes the great people of the earth to not want to listen to us. The first thing they want to know is, you know, saying, does this dude have a doctorate y'all listen to? You know, what kind of letters do he have behind his name? What kind of affiliations, you know, does he have? This is what causes them to not want to listen to you. You don't find very many regular people on those programs. They have to find somebody that they believe is worthy to be heard. And that's somebody who has followed their indoctrination, their way of knowledge. And once that person goes through all of that, then they say, well, he's worthy to listen to. And these are the only people that they decide that they want to listen to. Go ahead, brother.
Just to go back to verse 36, it says that, you know, my Father only. So just to put it out there, if it says my Father only knows the day and the hour, then basically all those people that are following that Woe 2011 doctrine are saying that white man, Harold Camping, that Gentile, is God.
Right.
So you're breaking the first commandment
Right.
by making this man God, because the Son of Man don't know, no man
Right.
knows but the Father only.
Right.
So you're saying that's the Father.
People don't understand what they're doing because they're not reading this book. What they're doing is they're taking their doctrine based upon that oral tradition that has been handed down. They don't read the book. So when they, you know, follow what is being said, even though it does not coincide with what's written in the book, they don't know that they're taking that person on as a God. They don't understand what it is they're doing. So, you know, we have to, you know, put these things out there. But like we were speaking about earlier, we have to rebuke these things because, you know, a lot of people just think, you know, remember what's written. It says, if your brother sinned against you, rebuke him. If he repent, then you forgive him. A lot of times we want to just move people to forgiveness without rebuke. When somebody's going to speak something that's not correct according to this word, you have to rebuke that statement. Now, that does not mean that we're going to glory ourselves against them and poke fun at them, because as we were reading a little earlier, Yahweh says when he deals and brings judgment upon your enemy for the things that he might have done against you, you don't rejoice when your enemy is being chastised, lest Yahweh removes his judgment from that person by your laughter. So you don't poke at the person. That's one side of it. Even on the other side, you know, you still don't want to just push into, you still want to be in a humble way, even though you know you're right. So we try to do that, and I know sometimes it gets difficult because the people who know the least amount about what's in this book will put their hand in your face the quickest. The people who know absolutely nothing about this book will be the ones that's going to cuss you out the first. So it gets very difficult to do that. Now, it's very interesting in what the brother had read. Brother has stated about those signs. Let's back up. We just read starting at verse 32. And no man knows, but we're going to back up to verse 3 in the same chapter and go from there to 32. So we've already stated and read that no man knows the day nor the hour. Now let's see the other things that has to happen before the day and the hour. All right. Verse 3. And as he sat upon the Mount of Olives, the disciples came unto him privately, saying, tell us, when shall these things be? And what shall be the sign of your coming and of the end of the world? And Yeshua answered and said unto them, take heed that no man deceive you. He's giving instructions. Verse 5. For many shall come in my name, saying, I am Christ, and shall deceive many. Just like Jadon said, praise Yahweh for you saying that. For the brother saying those things, and Yahweh had Yahshua had already said, no man knows but my Father. He has put himself in the presence of, a position claiming that he is God, because he knows something that no other person, not even the angels, know. Very good point. Verse 6. And you shall hear of wars and rumors of wars. See that you be not troubled. For all these things must come to pass, but the end is not yet. For nation shall rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom, and there shall be famines and pestilences and earthquakes in divers places. All these are the beginning of sorrows. Now, we had mentioned earlier in the week, if there actually is an earthquake, even if everybody don't die, if they have an earthquake today at 6 o'clock, they gonna have that man, they gonna give him the title Jesus himself. Brother, they are going to worship this brother. I mean, they gonna carve his name, his face in the buildings, Jack. They gonna carve it in the rock. They gonna do all kind of things. Let it be some slight earthquake. It can be like a little jello jiggle. They gonna worship this cat. Believe that. Of course. And when they decide that they want to worship a man, there you go. Verse 9. Then shall they deliver you up to be afflicted, and shall kill you. Now, obviously, they don't know about that part. They didn't deal with that. All right. And you shall be hated of all nations for my name's sake. Who hates them? Who hates them?
They're getting paid. They're making money.
They're getting all the money in the world. They don't get ready to go and get a job, and the people say, well, I don't want to hire you. They just go to the bank and get a loan. Verse 10. And then shall many be offended and betray one another, and shall hate one another. And many false prophets shall rise and shall deceive many. And because iniquity, lawlessness shall abound, the love of many shall wax cold. But he that shall endure to the end, the same shall be saved. Our people don't want to endure nothing. And this gospel of the kingdom shall be preached in all the world for a witness unto all nations. Then shall the end come. When you therefore shall see the abomination of desolation spoken by Daniel the prophet stand in the holy place, he so reads, let him understand. That ain't happened yet. See, they're not even dealing with the abomination of desolation and him standing in the holy place. We know that the Pope got to set his place over there in that temple that they're trying to set up. Right there in that holy city, they got three. They have a mosque, a synagogue, and a Christian church right there together in the Holy Land. Now you talking about just a nice setup of whoredoms right there all together, darn near connected to each other. I mean, right by one another. And people are not taking all of these things, but this is what happened when people place themselves as teachers, but they were not teachers. According to what's written, the Israelites are the teachers. So if you were not taught by an Israelite, who were you taught by? The Gentiles set up their schools by themselves, teach themselves, and then they turn around and come and teach us. So then they teach us our history back to us in an incorrect manner. And we love to have it so. Verse 16. Then let them which be in Judea flee to the mountains. Let him which is on the housetop not come down to take anything out of his house. Neither let him which is in the field return back to take his clothes. And woe unto them that are with child, and to them that give suck in those days. But pray you that your flight be not in the winter, neither on the Sabbath day. Wait a minute now. I thought according to what they dealt with, the Sabbath day was nailed to the cross. Wait. By the way, any new people, the red writing, that's the Messiah talking. Why is he still talking about the Sabbath if it is going to be nailed to his cross? And we're going to cover that, what happens after that. And we're going to still find that Sabbath day. So somebody telling a lie. Somebody lying. And I'm more apt to believe what's written in this book. Verse 21. For then shall be great tribulation, such as was not since the beginning of the world to this time. No, nor shall ever be. And except those days should be shortened, there should no flesh be saved, but for the elect's sake, those days shall be shortened. Then if any man shall say unto you, Lo, here is Christ, or there, believe it not. For there shall arise false Christs and false prophets, and shall show great signs and wonders. That's that thing that you just mentioned, brother. They're going to show those great signs and wonders through the fake Christ that they're going to put upon the earth. Insomuch that if it were possible, they shall deceive the very elect. So these miracles that they're going to show are going to be so convincing that if it were possible, the very elect would be fooled. We already know these people that's being fooled in the beginning, that ain't the very elect. So, but consider, these things are going to get so convincing. Some of y'all might go out there, oh, here he comes. Start singing. Oh, yeah. Understand that these people have great technology. They make that heaven roll back like a scroll. But if y'all know that these events hadn't happened, but you get caught up in the emotion of what you're seeing, y'all gonna be holding hand out there singing Kumbaya. Verse 25. Behold, I've told you before. Wherefore, if they shall say unto you, Behold, he is in the desert, go not forth. Behold, he is in the secret chambers, believe it not. For as the lightning comes out of the east and shines even unto the west, so shall also the coming of the Son of Man be. So when he come, where he coming? Okay. So he shall show up in the east. And as it starts in the east and then goes to the west, he will not pop up in California. Yay. Verse 28. For wheresoever the carcass is, there will the eagles be gathered together. Immediately after the tribulation of those days shall the sun be darkened, and the moon shall not give her light, and the stars shall fall from heaven, and the powers of the heavens shall be shaken. And then shall appear the sign of the Son of Man in heaven, giving you an order of events. And then shall all the tribes of the earth mourn, and they shall see the Son of Man coming in the clouds of heaven with power and great glory. So the Gentiles are going to try and duplicate this. This is what they're going to duplicate. So be very, very careful because emotion has caused many people to enter into some really, really bad relationships. And this is going to be a lot of emotion when you see something miraculous happening in the sky. They have this kind of technology. They have the kind of technology that makes soldiers disappear. Them soldiers can be right in front of you. They have that light bending technology that can make tanks disappear. And by the time you see it, you already smell the gunpowder. What is that? That's that tank that's in front of you, bro. What tank? Right. This is the kind of technology that they have. So be careful when you say that, well, you know, I'm a Hebrew Israelite and I have so much knowledge. They could not fool me. Right. Right. Okay. Emotion will come in and take your little knowledge and pee on it. Verse 31. And he shall send his angels with a great sound of a trumpet, and they shall gather together his elect from the four winds, from one end of heaven to the other. Let's go to Acts chapter 1 and verse 1 through 7. Acts chapter 1, verse 1 through 7. Could one of y'all brothers give me an ink pen? Got one. Thank you, brother. Appreciate it. Now, keep in mind the book of Acts is the first 30 years of the church. These things are taking place after the birth, death, and resurrection of the Messiah. So keep in mind about the order of these events and what is taking place and the things that are being said. Acts chapter 1, verses 1 through 7. The former treatise have I made, O Theophilus, of all that Yeshua began both to do and teach. So they're speaking about Yeshua's doctrine. All right. Verse 2. Until the day in which he was taken up. After that, he, through the Holy Ghost, had given commandments unto the apostles whom he had chosen. I had a Gentile point at me emphatically in my face this week and told me, you ain't keeping the commandments. You can't keep those commandments. He said, you can't keep the commandments. So he says, you know, wanted to tell me about Paul's doctrine and said that according to, you know, what Paul has laid down, that you're saved through faith. You ain't got to do nothing. All you got to do is believe in the name. And you are saved, and there ain't nothing you can do to lose your salvation. Now, there's something that, you know, people, you know, believe what they believe. My issue is that all of the Hebrew Israelites that stood by, the so-called African Americans who did not know, they believed that doctrine. This is the real only reason I got into it, because they believed it. Now, I was invited into that conversation, but, you know, the fact that there are many things that the Gentiles believe, but the fact that Yahweh's chosen people would actually believe those things was a situation that I had to deal with. Verse 3. To whom also he showed himself alive after his passion by many infallible proofs, being seen of them 40 days, and speaking of the things pertaining to the kingdom of Elohim, and being assembled together with them, commanded them that they should not depart from Jerusalem, but wait for the promise of the Father, which says he, you have heard of me. For Johannan truly baptized with water, but you shall be baptized with the Holy Ghost not many days hence. When they therefore were come together, they asked of him, saying, Yahshua, will you at this time restore again the kingdom to Israel? So our people automatically knew that Israel was going to be restored. The true children of Israel would reign in that holy land. This is why there is such a fight for that holy land. Because they know the land is holy, they figure whoever controls that land is the ruler of the earth. Why do you think the abomination of desolation must go over there and set himself in that temple and proclaim himself to be a god? He owns all of this stuff over here. He has all of the rulers of each nation coming up to kiss his ring. He already has that. So why does he have to go and place himself in that little bitty sliver that they're calling Israel? And we know that that's not Israel. You know what I'm saying? That's a little bitty sliver. That is not the boundaries that Yahweh has given unto Israel. So why does he need to do that? Because whoever has that can then proclaim himself to be the ruler of the earth. Go ahead, brother.
That whole doctrine, Catholicism, is built on the fact that Pope is bloodline of Peter.
Right.
So he's blood. They're saying that they're Israel. Pope is the bloodline of Peter, and he can claim, and he already, that's part of the doctrine. So when he actually goes over and sits there, he can be like, and I am bloodline of Peter.
Right.
I'm an Israelite, so all this was given to me, and that's going to be his way to step over and take that land.
Right. And it's crazy because, you know, they built their whole church on top of a dead body, which makes the whole thing unclean to even start with. So their whole doctrine is based upon a lie, but we're going to get into that a little later, and we got to deal with it because we're dealing with the doctrine of Christ. And you'll find that when we do deal with the doctrine of Christ, that it does upset some people. And remember the opening statement. If these things upset you, that we're reading, some of these very things now, are these things that were just read. The Mashiach said these things. So if these things are upsetting, understand that some of those same people, if you're feeling that in your heart, then you might have been one of those very people to persecute Christ. Because hindsight is always 20/20. You can always look back and say such and such and such and such. So it's easy to read this book and say, I would not have been one of those that would have persecuted the Messiah. But you do the same thing. Listen to people's questions. They'll ask you questions, and when your answer does not match the answer that's already in their heart, all of a sudden they have indignation against you. People ask you questions and they ask you things. They only want a confirmation of what's already in their heart. They really don't want the real answer. They want an answer that tells them it's okay to go about and do the crap that they were already thinking about before they even ran into you. Go ahead, brother.
I guess as we talking about the abomination of desolation and that he wants to receive accolades and that he is the one that this earth belongs to. That was not even on the program last night because they would not talk about the desolated abomination, but yet they want to talk about all these different signs and wonders of how they possibly can explain them when the earth shall be destroyed. And everybody's in fear and afraid and so forth like that. And even describing how the water becomes blood, and all these different things destroy the ecology. If the water is destroyed, the fish are destroyed, the world is destroyed. Okay, and it was talking that goes, everything goes. You know, like, they just brought all these different points, but yet still they never touched these main subjects that we're talking about right now. About Yeshua told them, my father's on what no.
And keep in mind, these are specialists.
Right.
Keep that in mind, bro. These are supposed to be scholars. And they not dealing with any of the stuff that's written. But keep in mind, who owns and controls these networks?
But then they touch that Pope.
Of course they not. You have any idea how much money the Pope has? You have any idea how much one advertisement? Man, they got commercials. The Catholic Church has commercials, brother. You know, commercials is what basically dictate what goes on a TV show. If you pay $1 million for a commercial spot, and you pay that $1 million for a couple weeks straight, you can then walk in that office and say, well, you know, I don't like such and such. They're like, well, look here, man, you don't run this such and such. You don't run this. This is our show. Then they go and sit down with the owner of the network. I've been paying $1 million every day to place my ad on this show. If you don't fix this of how this Catholic person is being represented, or this Jewish person is being represented, or this other person that I like and we kicks it with, if you don't change that, I shall pull my $1 million ad from this and other ads that I have on this network. All of a sudden, some dude with the suit on come down and call you into the office. Gotta talk to you for a second, brother. I need to talk to you. We need to sit down. What we need to sit down for? I know you own this show and everything, but I need to talk to you. This is how people own things and still are controlled. See, I know you own this and this is all yours, but let me explain to you. All these other people, man, they work for you. You own this. And, you know, James just bought a house. Kiki got a house. Man, all these people, they got families, man. So what I'm saying to you is if you don't fix this, you know, and change this thing, you're not only going to hurt yourself, man, but all them people going to lose their houses. So then they now make you feel responsible for all the other people that's going to suffer if you don't bow down to what they want. Gotcha. Those are things we don't take into consideration. Verse 7. And he said unto them, it is not for you to know the times or the seasons which the Father has put into his own power. So he did not say that Israel was not going to be restored unto their land. What he said was none of your business. Let's go to Matthew chapter 5, verse 17. So our fathers already knew. Matthew 5, verse 17. And I'm sorry if I just keep running this into the ground. We about to read some red writing again, okay? I have to state, this is the Messiah talking. This is Yeshua. And I'm sorry if you know, some people don't understand that, you know, the Messiah's name was changed into this, you know, the Greek-Latin hybrid name of Jesus to glorify their pagan god Zeus. Matter of fact, if you look in the earlier versions, it's i.e. Zeus, and Zeus was their principal pagan deity. But not even getting into the name, because a lot of times names and affiliations cause separation. So drop all the names and just deal with Christ. Let's not argue about Yeshua or Jesus. Let's just set that in this little box. We're going to put that in a little box, and we're going to put that box over here. All right, that's the Yahshua and the Jesus box. We're gonna leave that over there. Let's just deal with Christ, and let's see what he said. Let's not deal with names. Let's just deal with that. Verse 17. We're gonna go through verse 22, starting at verse 17. Think not that I am come to destroy the law or the prophets. I am not come to destroy, but to fulfill. Now, popular doctrine tells you that the law has been nailed to the cross. Somebody's lying. Red writing says Yahshua said this. Yahshua says that this is not what he came for. So how could his death nail anything to the cross when he said this was not his purpose? Verse 18. For verily I say unto you, till heaven and earth pass, one jot or one tittle shall in no wise pass from the law to all be fulfilled. Whosoever therefore shall break one of these least commandments and shall teach men so, he shall be called the least in the kingdom of heaven. But whosoever shall do and teach them, the same shall be called great in the kingdom of heaven. For I say unto you that except your righteousness shall exceed the righteousness of the scribes and the Pharisees, you shall in no case enter into the kingdom of heaven. You have heard that it was said by them of old time, you shall not kill, and whosoever shall kill shall be in danger of the judgment. Now, we read this just last week. People say that the law was nailed to the cross. What we see here is that Yahshua is magnifying the law, not doing away with it. He's taking that law. Now, the law was always spiritual, but us being carnal people, we were not able to see it in a spiritual fashion. Now he's taking that natural law and explaining it to us in a spiritual way so that we can see the spiritual application of the law. But I say unto you that whosoever is angry with his brother without a cause shall be in danger of the judgment. And whosoever shall say to his brother, Reka, shall be in danger of the council. But whoever shall say, you fool, shall be in danger of hell fire. Let's go to Luke chapter 4 and verse 16 through 32. Luke chapter 4, verse 16 through 32. Now we're dealing with the doctrine of Christ. This is the doctrine that he taught. This is the doctrine that he taught to his disciples. This is the legacy that he wanted to be carried on about him. He taught them what they were supposed to teach. He taught them how they were supposed to answer things. This is how we're supposed to be doing those things. When everybody says that they love the Lord, well, let's see. According to what's written, it says, if you love me, keep my commandments. But we find that commandments are not being taught. What is being taught is commandments of men and doctrines and fables. Luke chapter 4 and verse 16. And he came to Nazareth, where he had been brought up. And as his custom was, he went into the synagogue on the Sabbath day and stood up for to read. Right. And it was his custom. This was his custom that he went in and went into the synagogue on the Sabbath day and stood up for to read. Verse 17. And there was delivered unto him the book of the prophet Isaiah. And when he had opened the book, he found the place where it was written, the Spirit of Yahweh is upon me, because he has anointed me to preach the gospel to the poor. He has sent me to heal the brokenhearted, to preach deliverance to the captives, the recovering of sight to the blind, to set at liberty them that are bruised, to preach the acceptable year of Yahweh. And he closed the book, and he gave it again to the minister, and sat down. And the eyes of all them that were in the synagogue were fastened on him. And he began to say unto them, this day is this scripture fulfilled in your ears. Now, we know that the book of Isaiah, of course, is the Hebrew form of Isaiah. So here it is. We're talking about Christ being an example of what we should follow. This would automatically tell me that I would want to read the book of Isaiah, because this is a clear-cut example of you seeing the Messiah going in the synagogue on the Sabbath day, knowing he stood up and read out of the book of Isaiah? How could you even teach somebody not to read out of